All right, how about now? Can you hear me now? Did that fix it? This is my first time trying to use wavelength. All right, cool. So figured out that issue. That's one small step. Hi, Ray. I hope you're doing good, and welcome in. Sorry you couldn't hear me earlier. And hello, Raymundo. I'm I think this is the first time I've seen you in here, Raymundo, but if not, apologies for not remembering. Oh yeah, first time chatter. Okay, cool. Welcome in, Raymundo. All right, cool. Yeah, sorry about that. My first time trying to use wavelength audio for stream. Took me a while to get it even working on Discord, but I guess it's working now, and my mic sounds so much better with it. So I'm glad that it's working now. But yeah, guys, welcome in. I am currently working on um, a Legion of Rays, exactly. Why did this not? Oh, 1 second. It's always something, boys and girls. It's always something. Let's copy. Keep formatting. So this is called the Bitter Honor. It is. There we go. It is a. Oh. It is a short story set in the Bitterverse. In the Bitterverse that all of my stories are set in, and there we go. Sorry, this is fucking a nightmare apparently. Because I had this corrected earlier. I won't worry about that right now. But yeah, this is called The Bitter Honor. It's a short story set in the Bitterverse that is going to be following a homeless vet. I have the entire thing plotted out, and I finally decided to bite the bullet and get some writing done today. I've been putting it off for far too long. Actually, let me make that a little bit larger for it's easier for you guys to actually read what I'm writing. Yeah, kind of like the oh god, First Blood? Is that the name of the original Rambo movie before they changed it to be Rambo? I think it's First Blood. Either way, I mean, in some ways it's like that. Except, you know, he's going to be meeting the bitter verse version of Mars. He dies in the book. I've never read First Blood. That's interesting, because I know I've never actually seen the Rambo movies, but I've like osmosised a lot of them from around. And if I'm not mistaken, like he essentially snaps and like does a terrorism essentially in the first movie, if I'm not mistaken. But like it would, you know, it would make sense that yeah, he would kind of die, and I mean that would also serve the message more than him becoming an action hero. But alas, that's why you make sure you maintain your creative rights if you ever sell a story to a studio. But no, he okay, sorry. Like I said, I've not worked out all the kinks with wavelength yet. I wouldn't have worried about it, but it does sound so much better than my normal mic. But either way, yeah, so this story is going to follow a homeless vet who meets, they're called paled crowns. They're essentially decayed gods, essentially. So specifically, he's going to meet Maros, the decayed version, like the paled crown version of Mars. But that won't happen for at least a few pages. Well, actually, no, he'll probably meet them in the first. He'll probably meet Maros within the first 2 pages, I'm guessing. Like I said, I have it plotted out, but I haven't done the skeleton of it or anything. Are you a writer, Raymond, or are you more of just a literature enjoyer? Huh. All right. Oh yeah, yeah, I know the one that like all the concept art and stuff was made for. That looks so interesting. I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, listen, if you try to be a writer, you're a writer. I don't think that like I am published. I'm a published author, but that doesn't mean that you have to be published to be a writer. Um, that's at least the mentality that I try to maintain. But to that end, I see what you were saying. I think that like you have to change things from books for it to be a good adaptation, right? Because if you read a book and it's a perfect, you know, it's perfect to just turn into a movie. At that point, you're essentially reading a screenplay, I guess. Um, but I do think that like as a author, I would want to maintain the creative rights to make sure that if I have a message that I'm trying to get across with the story, that that meaning is not lost. Because there's always a danger of that, right? There's always a danger that like you had a very specific thing in mind that you were trying to communicate with your art, and then you know it gets changed outside of your control. That's in of itself my mindset when it comes to if any of my writing were to ever be adapted. Because like I'm not like a purist where like sentence for sentence, action for action, it needs to be converted properly. No, that's not what makes a good adaptation. I think it was Super Eye Patch Wolf that had a really good explanation, but I can't remember. So he died, and years later, he could find a box. Oh, interesting. Um, I have not heard of that, but that actually, I mean, there's like a tragic beauty to that, right? Um, and I think that in the modern literature landscape, it would be a lot harder for a story like that to come true. You would have to have a family member who cares very much about your writing getting out there. Um, but also they would need to have some in for, because like the publication world kind of fucking sucks, dude. If I'm gonna be honest with you, it really does. Um, but I was blessed to find a publisher who was willing to work with me, and I was very lucky to be able to get published in the first place. Um, but anyways, yeah, that's an interesting, you know, you would want to be discovered after like posthumously is that's an interesting take. Hmm. That deserves its own line. All right. And also, I think that that hits harder as spoke. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to hold on. Let me. Where's my pen? There it is. I'm gonna have to look him up. I've never heard of Iseo. P E. gonna have to look him up because that sounds like a really interesting story of like, I mean, I don't know anything about his writing, but his story sounds very interesting. And a lot of times I think that like, finding out things about the writer can be just as interesting as, their content itself. Also, I feel bad. I ignored Ray Ray's thing earlier, cosplaying Chu or Sal Fisher. Not sure who those are. Fernando. How old is his writing? Fernando. All right, I'm gonna look that up after stream. Also, Raymundo, what is your genre? Like, what do you write? I shouldn't be editing right now. I should be focused on just getting words on the page and editing later. But this being the opening, I'm kind of being anal retentive about it, I guess. Early 20th century. Okay, so kind of like a Hemingway kind of writer. Okay, interesting. A lot of people don't know Hemingway was actually a ambulance driver in World War I. A lot of his, let's say, eccentrics probably came from his PTSD as a World War I ambulance driver. Sheets of white fell into my narrow alley, plugging the black plastic of trash bags that lined the wall behind me. Okay. Essays, huh? So, when you say essays, are you talking like more along like nonfiction then? Like creative nonfiction, or like you try to tackle very specific topics? Um, because I've never tried to write or tried to get into um, quote unquote essays, like novellas and short stories and stuff. I very much have, but never really tried essays before. Because whenever I think essays, I think of like what I had to write in school, that pertain to like very specific topics and like try to answer, a given question. Uh, hmm. All right. Sheets white. Yeah, creative nonfiction. Okay. Um, that's interesting. If you actually here, I'll just type it for you. So if you are interested in joining a writers Discord and getting feedback and such, by all means, come join our writing Discord. We have quite a few, mostly horror writers, I would say. Like most of us are Creepcast fans. That's where most of us originally met. But there is no limitation on what kind of writing you try to share. So by all means, come join us, man. Um, all right. Let me see here. Uh, okay. Interesting. I like that. I'm always happy to hear that someone has found their niche for writing. I will say that like I never really gave poetry a try until I had to do some poetry for my creative writing class, and now I think that like one of my best pieces of writing, it's called Hereafter, wherever that line may be drawn, and it's a 5 act poem that I wrote for class, and I think that it might be some of the best writing I've ever done. So it's always interesting to hear like these people with like unique writing targets, if that makes sense. I'm a novelist at heart. Like I love world building. I love like I have the Bitterverse, which is the horror universe that I'm writing in now. And like I've done so much world building for it, and like I've made so many like pale crowns and waning remnants. In fact, this whole story right here, like the whole reason I came up with this story is because Mars is um, Mars is my like was my online handle for a long time until I became a VTuber, and Augustus Martus, the son of a demigod, or the son of Mars. But I made Maros up, and while thinking about like what domains the Pale Crown Maros would be, over, I came up with this story concept. So yeah, that's one of those things that like as a writer, you just kind of find your niche sometimes, and you get stuck in it. The thing is like with poetry, you know, I think that Hereafter is such a good piece, not because I originally thought it was, because originally I thought it was not very good. I felt so like, I don't know, raw, I guess is the way I would word it. Like I felt really exposed, let's say, while writing it. And it wasn't until I started, getting, oh, you're fine, Ray. Don't worry. Raymundo. But it wasn't until I started getting feedback from my classmates and from my teacher who were like, holy shit, dude, are you okay? That I realized that like, yeah, it was so emotional and raw that like they were like, I did a good enough job that they felt the emotions I was trying to put into it. So, I don't think I'm a poet by any measure. I think I'm a novelist. I think that like my talent lies in telling long form stories. I struggle with short stories a lot of time. If you look at my Reddit, I have quite a few short stories on Reddit, including the creepypasta version of The Bitter Question, which is the novel that that got me published. But like when it comes to short stories, I struggle a lot of times because with short stories, you need to be concise and very like you need brevity, and I struggle with brevity a lot. I have so much to say, and I have so much like internal view of the world I'm writing in that it's hard for me to narrow down to specifics that I want to keep a lot of times. And that's how I came up with the Bitterverse, because whenever I wrote The Bitter Question, like back before it was The Bitter Question, whenever it was the Caver Gang stories. Oh, thanks for joining the Legion, man. I hope you enjoy your stay. um, whenever I like originally wrote the Caver Gang story, it was going to be a standalone story. But then as I was going through and novelizing it and getting it ready for like trying to shop it out to agents, I realized how much more of the world I wanted to share and how much more, like how many more thoughts I had about it. Um, and so I came up with the Bitterverse. Now I have 12 books planned. I have one book published and I have fucking 12 books planned. So like that in and of itself tells you like, and sometimes, man, you just gotta sit down and write the shit. You can't plan forever. So this story right here, The Bitter Honor, is going to be a short story that is going to be going into well, it'll be posted like the first draft, quote unquote, will be posted to Reddit, but then it will be like cleaned up and made better to be posted, or not be posted, to be published into the Bitter Collection, which is going to be a set of either 5 or 7, somewhere in that range, short stories that will be, you know, a collection of short stories set in the Bitterverse. Sometimes go, okay, short essay, then have like random stuff. So there is a positive to that. It is so much better to be able to just get words on the page and then worry about cleaning it up later, right? That's something I struggle with. A lot of times it's like I'm not going to say I'm a perfectionist because by no measure am I a perfectionist, but I do have a hard time with like I will come up with these ideas and these like it's ADHD if I'm being honest. It's fucking that's all it is. But like I come up with ideas and stuff and then I end up getting to the point where like I've already experienced the story for myself like while thinking it out and planning it. So it's hard to go back and focus long enough to get the story out on the page sometimes. So just being able to get all of it out like that and then going back and worrying about cleaning it up later, I mean, that's a good thing. Um, so, all right. Uh, uh, here's that darkened enough to signal. And, uh, once it's finished, finish, it's short winter stay. Oh, actually, hold on a second. So, a good rule of thumb, guys, anytime that you have an introduction to a scene, it's always a good idea to have like um, 2 to 3, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Sensory like indicators, right? So, for instance, here, right, sheets of white. So, sheets of white is a visual indicator. Now, it being winter and being it talking about it being cold, that's a solid indicator of like a physical, like a touch indicator. But I also want this scene to feel very quiet. So do I want to add blanking the black plastic of trash bags? Uh, with a deafening, or no, with a uh, with a blanket of okay, so snow blanketing the black plastic trash bags that line the wall behind me with a deafening thickness. Um, so I don't know. I will probably go back and change this later because essentially I think I can word that better some way, but I'm not gonna worry about it right now. But I want to set like I want this to be cold, white, and quiet. And so that that first paragraph really needs to really drive that home. I do think let's drop that there. Sheets of white fell into an arrow. Sheets of pure white fell into my narrow alley, blanketing the black plastic trash bags that lined the wall behind me. A deafening silence. Yeah, man. Like the thing is like there is a limit, right? You have to find a good balance of like, you know, you don't want to over describe. Um, you know, you want the reader to be able to find a certain level of like room to place their own experiences and imagination into the work. That's the reason I say like 2 to 3 is a good setting. Like, you know, whenever you're establishing and seeing a good amount to set the feeling without over claiming it. Interesting. So you're a translator. I'm guessing from Portuguese, given the earlier conversation. Interesting. Oh, Spanish and English. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so I mean, I know that Portuguese and Spanish are relatively close, but like, you know, you could survive, I guess, you know, from one to the other. But interesting. Okay. Are you ESL or did are you English first, Spanish second? You do seem to have a casualness with your English that a lot of ESL people don't have. So that's when I was kind of surprised to hear that you were a translator. Spanish is your first language. Interesting. Well, I have to say, like your casualness with the English language is impressive. Um, because I have a few friends who are ESL, um, and I would say like the only one I can think of that is as casual as you is well, no, there's two people I can think of that are really casual with being ESL, and that's my buddy Bunder, who is French Canadian. So, French is his first language, but he's also very, he talks to everyone in English online. So, he lives in South America. So, oh, okay. Interesting. But yeah, the other is a Swedish person, and their Swedish is like the second highest like English proficiency in the world as a second language. So interesting. South America, huh? So I mean, I guess that would make sense that like you would know some amount of Portuguese. Uh, I know Brazil is Portuguese is their first language. I don't know if there's any others around it that are Portuguese as their first language. I would have to do some more research into that. I've never written anything set in South America, so I've never had to do much like research into that stuff. I am I am terminally American, unfortunately, and a lot of times if I learn something about other countries, it's just because I'm writing and I need to understand that country better for my writing. Um, that's interesting, man. Um, let me see here. How do I feel about this now? I can write, read, and understand anything people throw at me, but when it comes to pronouncing stuff, I just sound like Zizik. I don't know who Zizik is, but that's fair. That's one of the things is like there is a big gap between being able to write in a language and speak it. I have a dumb American tongue is what I call it. Like I can't roll my R's. That was the hardest part of Spanish for me whenever I was taking Spanish in high school and college because I had to have a foreign language credit, right? So that was the struggle I had in in Spanish was rolling my R's, but like there's some like Fleming noises in Swedish that I've struggled with. Um, God, don't even get me started on French. I wouldn't even try to speak French though. Uh, Croatian, okay. Um, that's that's interesting. Like I've never heard of them. Like I like Flossie a lot, and so it's interesting. I've not heard. I'm gonna have to, dude. You're giving me so much homework to do after stream. Zizak Croatian. Okay, let me write that down really quick. I love. There we go. Um, I love learning new things, and so it's always interesting whenever there for a long time I was getting a lot of Canadian and Australian people in my streams, and I don't know why that like I was being like pushed to them so much. There were some Europeans too, I guess, um, but mostly it was Canadians and Australians that my streams were getting pushed to, and I was like, all right, well, it is what it is. Uh, oh, okay, okay, gotcha. So it's like a more liberal philosopher than I'm guessing. If he was debating with Peterson. All right, let me reread this first paragraph, make sure I like where it's at now. Such pure white fell into my narrow alley, blanketing the black plastic trash bags lined the walls behind me. A deafening silence radiated from the thick snow, muting even the timid wind that swept between the two brick, yeah, between the two brick walls. Okay. Winter was the worst part of being homeless, simply so when it to decide to sleet or snow like this evening had. The streets of Nashville could have been much worse in that regard, of course. Hell, I met an old man who was missing his left pinky. Let's actually Puerto Rican? No, I fucked up that spelling. Again, for Major Command, who was missing his left pinky and ring finger. Said he lost them to frostbite and a particularly bad Chicago blizzard. He's been working his way south since, and 2 years later, I had met him. Uh, okay. Why do I keep capitalizing blizzard? I'll stop doing that. All right. The gray sky had darkened enough to signal that the sun had finished its short winter stay. The thick snowfall. Now danced across the blackened. Push back against invasive. All right. Mine instantly pushed back against the invasive thigh. I looked down at the empty. So, all right. The gray sky had darkened enough to signal that the sun had finished its short winter stay. The thick snowfall now danced across the blackened sky above in a hypnotic swirl and push that reminded me of the sandstorms outside of Kuwait. My mind instantly pushed back against the invasive thought, and I looked down at the empty ball that my numb fingers clutched at. The fact that my grip was. So this is why you don't listen to everything Word or Google recommends, because a lot of times it will have incorrect recommendations. So keep your head on a swivel, boys and girls. Was so still worried. That part of my mind. but I was far too sober to worry about that for now. With the assistants, the my pit bull just walked in and stared at me for some reason. What's up, Breezy? Yeah, everything okay, baby? Okay. Uber. Swaying on the two numb clubs. I barely passed as feet. I already said no. Stop trying to correct me there. That's also wrong. Uh, burst calls, man. Oh, geez. Stay safe out there. um, I think my feet there. I barely passed as my feet. All right, so um, yeah, so this is so this scene, like, I don't know if you can hear you should be able to, the ambient noise I'm using right now. It's supposed to be like a blizzard winter ambiance. Um, but like this whole scene being set in winter, and I'm writing it in the middle of well, at the beginning of August, is really forcing myself into a alien mindset. But like even so, I'm actually feeling a little bit colder just from writing this. Empty hand pressing against the stumbled along. Uh, being from the South, my go-to is always Jack Daniels, but let's think. Let's say vodka, I guess. All right, so under the palette. All right. All right, let's give this another read, boys and girls. With the assistance of the brick wall at my back, I staggered to my feet, swaying on the two numb clubs that barely passed as my. Okay, so double feet there. As we'll just say legs there. With the assistance of the brick wall at my back, I staggered to my feet, swaying on the two numb clubs that barely passed as legs. I moved along the wall, empty hand pressing against the uneven brick for support as I stumbled along. I was fairly certain that I had a half bottle of vodka hidden under the pallet that rested against the wall at the back of the narrow walkway. By some small miracle, I made it to the pallet without falling over, but couldn't maintain that tentative balance as I tried to pull it away from the wall. Okay, I think that works. I could probably do a little bit better on a second pass, but yeah, it's a problem for future Augustus. Exactly, yeah. So the thing is, like, a lot of people will get hung up when they're trying to write and not be able to get enough writing done. And that's because, we have a problem with getting stuck on revising what we're writing as we're writing it. And that's not, you should focus on getting the words on the page and then worry about revising it later. Face your fear. Welcome in. The writing has been okay. I posted a story on Reddit last week before last, week before last. The Bitter Limerence. Pretty proud of that one. Didn't do a lot of numbers, but I'm still proud of the writing. I need to work on the sequel to my novel, but I'm kind of in a creative, not slump necessarily, but a creative stopgap, I guess, is a fair way to word it. And so I am writing a short story to try to bridge that gap a little bit. There is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like as far as my recommendation to just get words on the page and worry about editing later. It is mostly just a hey, writer's block comes from not being able to get, the words on the page. And a lot of that not being able to get words on the page comes from, you know, being a perfectionist. So if you just worry about getting the page, like right now, perfect later, I guess is the mindset I try to keep. But yeah, this story is called The Bitter Honor, and it is um, something I've had rolling around my head for a while. So I just decided to sit down and work on it for a little bit. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you talked about, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong here. You talked about your writing being more like esoteric, essentially, right? Yeah, that's, you have to be in a similar mindset when it comes to editing. Otherwise, you're gonna take a butcher's flavor to your own work, and that can be damaging. Absolutely, that can be damaging. I think last time you were here, I was doing life critique for people. This is today. I'm actually writing for myself. I already said no. I don't want that. Stop trying to suggest it. It's true. Sometimes you got to kill your darlings, and I'm notoriously hard up for that. No, I understand. Kill your babies is burn your art or whatever. But couldn't maintain that tempted balance as I tried to pull it away. I am now on the run. The cops are after me. Um, what axes are those? I do like talking about the I don't know, the philosophy of writing and like, the theory of writing at times. But with all philosophy, and this coming from someone who is getting into technology ethics, with any philosophy, you have to have a grain of knowing when to call it quits. Cognitive movement. Yep. Yeah. So that is part of writing a believable character. Yep. Um, like so, one of the reasons that like a- people will often praise my ability to write like a unique voice for my narrator, like who like because I my characters like as they're narrating they will sound like the narration sounds like the character, right? So for the Bitter Question, like I write as Will as that narrator, uh and like Will, for instance, in comparison to like Alicia, who the sequel to the novels is the POV of Alicia. Will is much more philosophical and like you um, poetic, I guess, in his like the way he narrates, versus Alicia, who is much more analytical, and that cognitive movement plays a big part in being able to capture the narrator's voice properly. It depends. I think that like there are plenty of writers who have a very distinct voice, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like if you sat down a paragraph by, Tolkien, you would probably be able to tell it's Tolkien versus like Rothfuss or Sanderson or Martin. Like there's nothing wrong with having that distinct voice. Now I think where the problem is that some people's voice isn't for everyone, and so that can be an issue. Yeah, so actually I was talking about earlier, and this is a good rule of thumb that I use for my writing, and I think it's a very strong piece of advice, period. If you're setting a scene, going for 2 to 3 sensory inputs for a scene to set a scene is very beneficial. Um, so like for instance, like what I was going for here, there's the white, pure white here, which is, a visual, indicator. There is the silence from like, how things get very quiet when it snows. And then it being winter and talking about snow and stuff sets a coldness, which is a third physical, like that's an indicator of touch. So like you can set these like 3 sensory inputs, and then you leave the others for the reader to fill in. It being in a dirty alley, I could have very easily gone with smell. But I find that a lot of times in winter, the smell of snow stomps out a lot of the other lingering smells. Yeah, like either like it depends. I use the idea that like anytime you change scenes, you need like you change locations, you need to re-establish the scene, right? That's the way I approach it. Which it can work against you, especially if you have a very long like stint all in one scene, right? Yeah, yeah. Uh, I do think that the show don't tell is a it's a dangerous mindset to have. I think there is plenty, especially when it comes to narration, when you have a person telling the scene, I think that telling is most of the time okay, because it's a narrator. Now, if you have like a third person omniscient, then you know telling showing versus telling is very different. But a lot of times the show don't tell is like showing character, like showing how a character is, and you can actually use that to your benefit by telling the reader one thing and then showing another. You can show that your narrator is unreliable. Yes, absolutely. That is something that, like, yes, I agree. And that is something that I have had to point out to a few people that I've been doing live critiques with, being like, hey, why is the character talking like this in this moment? Like, if you think about it, they're going to be so stressed out. There's no reason for them to articulate in this way, right? But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And to that end, what's happening right now, he's falling back and hitting his head. Um, and like that's going to, of course, flavor how he is going to view the scene himself, right? So yeah, yeah, Fear, absolutely. Yeah, I love talking graph, man. Did you join the Discord? Here, let me put that out again. Um, uh, there's the writing Discord. Yeah, if you want to, that's completely fair. I also have far too many Discords I'm part of. That's part of being a streamer, though. You end up joining a lot of people's Discords and then muting them and just sticking them in a folder. Nice, man. Let's see here. No, man. I don't think I saw you post anything. Let's see here. Did you post it in the critics corner? 'Cause I don't see one from you lately, at least. If I missed it, my apologies. I do miss things often. I remember the introduction. Yeah, it's been a while. No worries though. Yeah, if you post something up in the critics corner, I will do my best to give you feedback on it, man. It is it is one of those things that I try to help out the community as much as I can, which unfortunately is not as much as I would like to. I'm in the process of trying to get a job and all, but even so, yeah, I remember, like I said, I remember you talking about your writing style as being like, I think esoteric or something is essentially how you described your writing. First person balls deep. Okay. Okay, yeah. That's I like that. First person balls deep is really funny. Um, all right. My fingers could feel nothing. So I don't really use a cadence necessarily, like a cadence scheme. I will change the cadence of my writing based on what is happening in the scene. Like um, if I have like an action scene, I will make I will increase the pace of the sentences. I will make them shorter, choppier, more line drops, stuff like that. If it is more contemplative, more of a slow, thoughtful time, it will be longer sentences, more flowery language, things like that. I don't really use a scheme necessarily. It's just I I am cognitive of it when I'm writing and whenever I'm editing, and I do my best to keep that like as part of my conscious writing process. I don't know what prosody is. Let me Google that really quick. Prosody. Prosody refers to the rhythm, stress, and annotations of spoken language. Yes and no. It depends on what I'm writing and what I'm writing for. Like if I'm writing poetry, absolutely. And like if I have character dialogue, I will specifically focus on that more. Like if whenever I'm writing dialogue. But I think a lot of it comes down to making sure I stick within my narrator's voice. I put a lot of focus on my narrative voice. So, for instance, um, no, 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 that's fine. No, it's I listen. I've taken creative writing, like introduction to creative writing, like twice, and that's like the extent of my writing classes. I have learned through osmosis and through conversations like this a lot of what I know. Um, but yeah, I will like if I'm writing poetry, obviously, yes, I will more worry about that. And dialogue is very important when it comes to making sure that like you have a realistic like beat for beat. Oh, there you go. Bathos. Let me check. Bathos. Sun, jarring, shift, and move. Yes, that is something I will use specifically, uh, like in the bitter question. Yeah, in the bitter question, because Will is such a philosophical and poetic like narrator. There is a lot more of that, like bathos, I guess, because he like whenever it's a moment of calm in the because the whole story is him recounting like he's writing all of this down and like as he's writing it down like there are certain scenes where he gets more heated, I guess. So yes, I do use that, but again like sometimes it's like you don't know the words for it, you know how it feels when you write it, right? Is that right? Yeah, there should be a comment. Yeah, I mean I think that like if you I think if you focus on trying to write as the character, as the narrator, it will go a long ways. Epistemic. Okay. Epistemic. I feel like I've heard that before. Maybe from a Sanderson book or something. I don't remember. That is an interesting word. I like that. Time to localization. So I will say that like in first person, um, it so it depends on what your how your character writes, or like what your narrative voice is for the character, right? Like if they are obsessive about something, like it would make sense that they would be focalized on it, right? Um, if they have like a certain mindset, like for instance, this is a army veteran, right? I mean, a lot of narration is diegetic, right? Like a lot of like your narrator will be diegetic because they are living through that moment, right? Um, but to that focalization like idea, if like this character is an army vet, so like he is going to be more focused on physical sensation. He's going to be more focused on, you know, how, what, when, and where than a lot of other, you know, narrators would. Um, so like I do think that it mostly comes to the point of like know your character, know your narrator, and write to their power, right? Like write to their strengths. Um, this narrator is not going to sound the same as Will from The Bitter Question or from Alicia from The Bitter Romance. Like I am pretty proud. If you go onto my Reddit and read my short stories, none of my short stories have the same narrator. So I'm pretty proud with my ability to characterize the narrator through how they write and how they relate. So if you are in the Writer's Haven, it would be the Critics Corner. Would probably be your best place if you, especially if you're looking for feedback. Yeah, that craving was what drove. That craving is what drove my need for alcohol to begin with. A need to be so far gone that nightmares and lingering thoughts then drag me back to wakefulness. The sweet darkness of unconscious. There's a somber blessing. The craving for that blessed was sleep. I'm bothered. Yeah, if you can. Ideation, yes, ideation would be one that I would recommend. Like drug abuse, child endangerment, animal endangerment. Listen, I'm not like as a writer, I'm not going to typically um, patrol like triggers because to me, part of art is being triggered on some level, right? But I do have people in the server that are not of that mindset, so I do my best to cater to those needs as well, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that'd be child endangerment and ideation. Yeah, I try to be as inclusive as possible, especially when it comes to. I think that writing and expression as oneself is something that everyone, regardless of their social standing or social views, should be able to do. Right? I don't care if you have the most polar opposite political, philosophical, ideological, ethical views as me. I don't care how far apart we are. I think that you not only deserve but should be able to voice and express your worldview in your writing. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to like it. That doesn't mean I'm going to like your writing, but I think that you have the, I think you should be able to express those things. And that's why I try to give as much um, help with writing as I can, just so that people have the tools that will help them express those thoughts and those opinions, right? Uh, Yeah, so like there is a sense that like I would say like if the content warning itself is a spoiler, like hey, if you know a child isn't endangered, like hurt until the very end, and so like expressing that in the trigger warnings could be a spoiler. Mark it as spoiler text and be like trigger warning. There are explicit triggers in this writing, but they are spoilers. View spoiler at your own risk. You know, and that that way you give them the ability to make the decision for themselves whether or not they want to if they want to look into those because I don't even look at trigger warnings or content warnings before I read a story because I would rather experience the story in a state of blindness. Yeah, the craving for that bothers me. I think this character is okay with saying like I think he knows he's an alcoholic, so I think he's okay with admitting he has alcoholism. So uh, no, I'm talking about like I would put the content warning in a spoiler box. So like in Discord, like if you type like if you type this right here into Discord, the word spoiler would be spoilered in this. So like, if you're it would be uh yeah. So I would say like this is how I would probably post it if it was mine. Like that's probably how I would done it. But that's me. And that's my mindset and how I like people to view my writing. So, yeah, no, no, that's Uh, all right. That sweet darkness of unconsciousness was a somber blessing, as always. A craving for that unbothered sleep was what drove me to alcoholism to begin with. The need to be so far gone that nightmares and lingering thoughts couldn't drag me back to wakefulness. Okay. Yeah, essentially, yeah. Yeah, that works. I don't know how long I lay in that alley. Yeah, I mean, alcoholism is probably a good content warning. Vino Veritas. So, Vino Veritas. In wine, there's truth. Okay, that makes sense. That is a good line. I like that line. Yeah, yeah. I like the pun. Yeah, man. I'll try to give it a read tonight after stream. Let me see here. There you are. Come on now. I mean, yeah, sure. Or undefined, if you want to say undefined. I mean, undefined or fantasy, either one works. I mean, the genre a lot of times people don't care about either way. I mostly put that there just for A lot of the writers in the Discord are horror writers. So yeah, I would say undefined then. Yeah, yeah, I follow your pace. Um, I cracked my left eye open to see a man hovering over me. He was a he was a large figure, outlined in fiery orange snowflakes, with like thick pieces of rust falling about him. The slanting light of the lamp behind him giving an even more alien appearance to his hunched shoulders and thick neck. I don't think hunched shoulders is the word I'm looking for here. Maybe mountainous? Like what? Slouched. Where did I use slouched at? Oh, his shoulders. Well, no, I'm trying to like I said like hunched because like the person over him is like a very big man, with a like cloak slash like a long jacket essentially like over him, um, and like he just looks like a big dude. I was using hunched originally because like he's kind of like leaned over the guy, like he's like hunched over him, but I feel like it's better to say mountainous because like he's so big. that. Hold on a second. Recognize. Are you talking about this one? No, I was. I was kind of looking for a synonym, but like I decided to go with like I think it's more important to demonstrate the size of him versus like the fact that he's hunched over the guy. So slouched is it was a good synonym. I agree. But yeah, is that the that you were talking about? So this is supposed to be a little bit more dreamy. He's like he's being pulled back from unconsciousness. Um, so like, and plus this guy is not articulate, right? I mean he is articulate, but like he's not poetic. Like uh, if this was Will, it would probably be worded closer to that. Um, this feels I feels more genuine to me for what the character would think like. Um, I don't like larger though. I think hulking actually is probably a better word here. Maybe. Now that I'm reading, now you got me froze up on it. Hmm. Here's a looking figure outlined in fiery orange. Oh, snowflakes. There we go. Is this is where hunched, you know. The same light of the lamp behind him gave an even more alien hilt to his monstrous shoulders and thick neck. Ah, sorry about that, man. No, no, you're good, Fist. Don't worry. Uh, okay. Dude, thank you, Fizz. I actually might end up wrapping up stream here in just a minute, anyways, because I've been streaming for like 2 hours, which isn't really long for me, but I did forget to eat lunch today, so I should probably eat something soon. Um, I'm only at 611 words today, though, so I would really like to break 700 at least. I feel that's okay. Hold a second. I don't know how long I lay in that alley. Accumulate. There's only the warmth. 2 fingers at my neck. Pull me back into my body. Okay, that's better. There you are. Come on now, revelry, revelry. By a hulking man. It was outlined in fiery orange snowflakes, each a thick piece of rust falling about his hunched figure. Sodium light of the lamp behind him. The sudden light of the lamp behind him gave an even more alien tilt to his mountainous shoulders and thick neck, and his hair was. Okay, so it would be so big shoulders, or sorry, mountainous shoulders, thick neck, and charcoal black hair. He wore a black duster over his thick chest. Hmm. This was chiseled from pale marble and reminded me of every drill sergeant action star I'd ever seen. Further relieved. I think that works. Okay. All right. So Oh, well, man, don't worry. Well, I'll probably so I've hit 7:35 now. So I was gonna wrap up this dialogue tag and I was probably gonna call stream. Spicy Senpai. Senpai, that's funny. I like that. Welcome in. Hope you enjoy your time with the Legion. What brings you in on this fabulous Wednesday? Oh, wonderful. Another writer. Well, Spicy. What kind of writing do you do? And if you are a writer, feel free to join our writing Discord. I just gave the link in chat for you. We are a community of writers that try to give feedback to one another and try to help as best we can. Oh, space adventure and real sci-fi. So, not the book that I got published with, but the first book I wrote was a sci fantasy novel um, called Asset Cronus. I don't know if I'll ever try to go back and get it published now, though. I have so many books planned for the Bitterverse now that if I ever do decide to go back and publish Asset Cronus, I would say probably I would have to get a different pen name because it is so far removed from horror, which is what I'm published under right now. So, I mean, like I'm pretty. I I will say that I can write in any genre, but I would probably struggle um, with like murder mystery. I could probably pull it off if I really wanted to. It's not really a genre I enjoy, so like I don't read murder mystery, so I don't think I could probably do a great job writing it. Though I do okay with mystery. Asset Cronus had plenty of mystery to it. Yeah. Oh, actually, um, are you published, Lacey? Do you have a book to share with the class? You have 17 published works. Spicy. What's your hold on a second. Let me pull up Google really quick. What's your pen name? Molly Lerma. Yeah, motherfucking Lerma. That's funny. Oh, there you are. Hello. Sweet. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, I figured. Like it's hard for me. Well, I don't know. Actually, if Molly is your name, then I guess it could just be Molly. You know, whatever your middle name is. I guess would make sense as well. Uh, but yeah, my VTuber name is also my pen name. So Augustus Martis. My only published work is The Bitter Question, which is book one of the Cavergang saga, or Cavergang's Tales. No, sorry, Cavergang Stories, which is one of three series that are going to be set in the Bitterverse. And then there's going to be two short story collections set in the Bitterverse as well. The story I'm currently writing right now is one of the short stories for the Bitter collection. So I have a whole bunch of short stories published to Reddit, but only the one novel published right now. Uh, I hope that you enjoy it. I'm very proud of that book. I don't know if you've ever heard of Creepcast, but my goal is to hopefully get it read on Creepcast. Um, I am in the process of trying to get that done. But yeah, Spicy, by all means, uh, feel free to join the writing Discord. And if you ever need help or feedback, I can't promise that we'll be able to offer like editorial level suggestions, but I know that we have a couple. I can think of at least three or four people that would probably love to read into your genre. Jacoli is probably the first one that comes to mind. He is probably one of the most military savvy individuals I know. Oh, absolutely. Jaywalk is the type of person. So there's Jaywalk and there's Athena. Athena will be able to tell you like specs on a fucking tank that was only used in like one conflict in like 1960s, like Taipan or some shit, right? Like Athena is one like it has that type of autism where they know a ridiculous amount about hardware. Jaywalk is, I would say, more of a like military theory and stuff. He's probably someone that will absolutely be able to give you guidance and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. Athena absolutely has tank autism instead of train autism. Yeah, she is Canadian. She's a trans Canadian girl, and I've known her for almost as long. Well, so like I met Athena through Jaywalk, and I've known both of them since essentially since I started streaming. Um, so, oh, hello, welcome in. Oh, I'm getting all sorts of new viewers. Hello, Jessica. Welcome to the Legion. Hope you enjoy your stay. I mean, so blowing up the Earth is an interesting task. I don't know if you've ever seen XKCD, XKCD, I think. I don't know. They have a whole bunch of YouTube shorts that has very interesting things that end up answering questions like that. Um, if you're trying to do it in a military sci-fi way, I mean, the thing is, you have to overcome its gravitational. Like, how exploited are we talking? Are we talking about like are we trying to like departiculate it, or are we trying to like destabilize it? Like, what level of destruction are you looking to do, Spicy? Because the level of destruction is going to determine what your best path for that probably is. Glass in the Planet is old hat. I mean, like if you look at the like Warhammer 40K universe when they're like talking about Exterminus, Exterminus is typically a glassing of a planet because like it takes so much energy to departiculate a planet, that it becomes like, why would you use that much energy when you can just glass it? Like, why go through that level? However, I think that a more interesting thing you could do is find a way to, um, like, well, I mean, I guess it also depends on like what you want the aftermath to be, huh? Because like if you wanted to, yeah, destabilize the core, like you can literally like collapse the internalized like iron core of the earth and then have it crumble under its own gravity. Um, so, um, so is this an organized attack, or is this a failed experiment? Like, what's the cause here? Also, Jessica, uh, hopefully you heard me say welcome. I am currently writing a short story set in my Bitterverse stuff. Bitterverse, actually, my website just got linked in the chat. But this is a short story set in the Bitterverse, which is a horror universe that I write within. As in a quarantine has been for 100,000 years. Okay, so, well, if you want to actually like completely destroy, so departiculate the planet, I think that like the best thing you could do is to have a like a sci-fi chemical that essentially uh, combines with and like in some way activates iron, like liquid iron inside of the Earth's mantle and its core. And that way you're exploding from the center outward. That way you can have that big flashy Star Wars planet explosion, right? Gotcha. So I would say from a like utilitarianism would be, hey, why would we spend enough energy and power to departiculate this planet when instead we can have you ever played Dead Space, or have you read anything about Dead Space, how they do what's referred to as planet crack, where they will essentially crack a planet in half and then be able to, yeah, so like essentially instead of like departiculating the planet, if it is a, hey, if you're going to leave you need to clean up after yourself, it would make most sense to just mine the earth, like literally like do a planet crack and just mine all of the iron out of the core. um oh, okay. Hey, listen, that's what I'm here for. I love helping fellow raiders. Um, but yeah, if you join the Discord, shoot me a message, and I will absolutely help spitball with you on that. Ah. So I mean, like the excuse me, like having the idea that aliens, have you seen the memes and stuff about humans essentially being orcs, like space orcs? Like we have this like unreasonable level of resilience that most creatures cannot even fathom. Um, and like in a spacefaring society, our level of intelligence currently is not to the level where we would be like intellectually impressive to other space traveling species, but our resilience is so absurd that most others would be like, this is unbelievable. Yeah, like the fact that we eat poison as spice on our foods, and we drink coffee, which is literally poisonous. Those kind of things. Yeah. So like having it where like this was a like humans were like essentially a biological experiment that, oh shit, these people are way too resilient and now they're leaving the planet. We have to fucking nuke them. I think that would be a good solid reason, especially if there are sensors out in the Kepler belt that are watching for a level of sophistication. And they're like, oh shit, humans are too far. Like we looked away for too long. Or maybe the original aliens got filtered out. Maybe the original aliens aren't even there. And this is just an old automated reactionary situation. Okay, yeah, and then they kind of like went out and did space. Yeah, so like you could either go the this is like a precursor technology that is just leftover, like leftovers from previous, civilizations, almost like um, halos from like Halo, except instead of it being like, you know, the like there to stop the flood, it was. I mean, I guess in some way it is there to stop the human flood. Since in this scenario they're trying to exterminate. So I guess the question is like, would they exterminate just the Earth, or would the mega weapon? Oh, okay. Oh, so that's like where Homo erectus came from, essentially, was being banished. Or, well, it wouldn't even be Homo erectus because we have like fossil lines that go back far enough that, it wouldn't really make sense that Homo erectus was like a unique thing. Hmm. Something different? Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about like as far as like, is this a like if this is an automated quote unquote defense weapon to make sure that humans stay within their bubble, is it just going to destroy Earth, or is it going to try to wipe out the entire solar system? Because if it's trying to wipe out the entire solar system, it would probably try to collapse the sun instead of just destroying Earth, right? Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Okay. I mean that yeah, that could be the strand of our DNA that separates us from, you know, like the missing link, so to speak. That could be like the like original exiles. I guess I can hear my big hellhound scratching at herself upstairs. I can hear her little thump 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 as she's scratching at her side. Sorry. Yeah, no, I can yeah, I mean yeah, absolutely. Uh Hello, Baron. Welcome, Raiders. My name is Augustus Mars. I am a Roman demigod, son of Mars. I hunt monsters for a living. Whenever I have some free time, I like to write novels and short stories. Welcome in, guys. What were you guys up to? Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Yeah, Baron, what were you playing, bud? Oh, we were doing some reading. Excellent. Well, guys, I hope you had some good stories. Terry Pratchett and Annie Dillard essay. All right, nice, nice. Oh, Spicy, thank you for dropping in, and hope you enjoyed your stay, and hope to see you next time, guys. Um, but yeah, no, I am currently writing. This is The Bitter Honor. It is a short story set in my Bitterverse universe, which is the horror universe that I write within, where essentially all of the Greek legends, Roman legends, Japanese, like all of those, all the mythologies of Earth are in some way true, I guess. But essentially, the gods have all decayed into, well, gods, monsters, spirits, whatever, have all decayed into new types of beings called waning remnants and paled crowns. Um, yeah, that's ADHD. Be that way, man. Don't feel bad. Um, the yeah, think of you can think of the Bitterverse almost like a adult facing Percy Jackson with a horror tilt to it. That's probably the best way I can summarize the Bitterverse. Um, I am my first book, The Bitter Question, is published through Echoes of Service Publishing, and uh, it it's the first book of five in the Caver King stories. But this story is just a short that's taking place within the universe and will probably be part of the Bitter Collection whenever I put together the Bitter Collection. It does. If you go to my Reddit, or just search Augustus Martis on Reddit, you will find all of my short stories that, well, all but the A Noose Once Tied. A Noose Once Tied is not set in the Bitterverse. But if you see any of my short stories posted on Reddit that has bitter as part of their title, because all the titles start with the bitter something, those are all part of the Bitterverse. So this one being the Bitter Honor. It will probably be posted, I don't know. The thing is, like, I'm already at like 750 words on, and like, I haven't really started to dive into it much. I don't know if I'm going to be able to post this as one part on Reddit. I'll try though. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. Um, but yeah, no, absolutely, guys. Um, no, I don't want to give ads to my new friends here. Get out of here. Um, okay. Yeah, if you're feel free if you want to read any of my works on stream, you have my full permission, all right? Um, yeah, no, that's one of the things, like, I am glad that I got I'm glad that oh, I'll say it. Actually, before I forget, the real Google. Since it's not letting me click on that name, I'm gonna have to go to Google and or Twitch to give Beagle a follow for the raid. There we go. There we go. Follow. There you go, Beagle. Ah, Fallen. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Uh, oh, Stambo, you are Beagle. Gotcha. Uh, so yeah, this so the Bitter Question is the first of five novels in that series. There are two other series planned, the Mueller family dramas and the Camp Hollowvale tales. Those are going to be three books each. So that's 11. And then there's um, two short story collections planned for the Bitterverse. The biggest problem is I have to sit down and fucking write them. If I can get my ADHD to sit down and let me do it, you know? Oh no, stand by. I follow you. Don't worry. I've been there. Um, you do math and physics on Sundays and Fridays. That's interesting. So you're almost like a educational streamer. That's cool. That's cool. Hey, sometimes that's all we can do, man. Uh, honestly, it's one of those things where you can only do your best, right? That's the key to streaming, I think. All right. So, oh, cool. Physics PhD, huh? What kind of physics PhD? Are you like specialized in like astrophysics? Are you focused on um like any particular brand, or is it just a general physics PhD? Lonospheric space weather. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Or ionic, ionospheric space weather. Okay. Um, that's that's really interesting. I just actually, oh God, what's the name of the channel? She does like optimistic, science content in YouTube Shorts and stuff. Can't remember the name of that channel now. I get it in my YouTube Shorts all the time. But I saw one just like a little while ago talking about how like our solar system is in the process of going through like essentially through a big gap right now. Yeah, it's a woman. Because like Kyle Hill. Um, Unfortunately, I don't know if you've heard about what happened with Hank Green lately, and that's very disappointing. But it is what it is. Um, oh, what is her name though? It's Optimistic Science is like her whole brand. Um, Hank Green got caught using generative AI for a lot of his scripts and stuff. Um, and then he kind of fibbed about it, and people are in the process of backtracking and showing proof that he's been using it pretty extensively for a while. Oh no, you're fine, man. I was actually going to be wrapping up relatively soon, anyways, um, because I skipped lunch. So yeah, I mean, like the whole thing is like so I was a computer science major, and I was specializing in technology ethics was the field that I wanted to get into. Um, so like I view AI as a tool, and it has a lot of very practical, very helpful uses that we can use it for. That being said, as a creative, as a writer, and such, I do not want AI in creative fields. Yeah, AI is absolutely a minefield. So technology ethics as a field, the thought process of like, hey, because like I was technology ethics was the field I wanted to go into, not just AI, but like biotech, automation, like um, life expectancy, like all of those like kind of touchy fields because I do think that like there needs to be an ethical guideline and an ethical view of technologies, and a lot of people don't really consider that, unfortunately. And like, believe me, I'm like, I by philosophy, I'm a libertarian. I don't like government having its hands in a lot of things. Period. However, I do think that technology is something that there needs to be oversight for. I like a lot of ML type stuff, LLMs. Yeah, exactly. Machine learning and like so LLMs in general are something where they are a one trick pony essentially, right? And they are being used to bread and circus. My big hellhound is barking at me. Sorry guys, 1 second. Ah, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, that was my big hellhound, Breezy. She was doing big borks. But LLMs are like a one-trick pony that are kind of a bread and circus situation where the average person can use them and honestly get addicted to them. I don't think that LLMs are really much of a benefit in a lot of ways. Uh, oh no, not the books. Um, But yeah, like neural nets that are trained to like identify cancers and be able to identify and bring cancers to, people's awareness and like highlight them is like something that I think is very beneficial and is something that needs researched further. Having machine learnings that are like novel to the point of like being focused solely on mathematics and theorems is also very beneficial. Um, yeah, exactly. So, that's one of the things like you say AI and people get scared. And I understand why. I'm not saying, but I was a nuclear machinist mate in the Navy. I worked on a nuclear reactor. People are scared of nuclear power and they shouldn't be. And in a lot of the same way, people are afraid of AI in ways that they shouldn't be. Um, Creatives very much like have a good reason to be afraid of AI stealing their creative fields because companies are cheap and lazy and will try to do their best to shortchange people. And people also don't want to pay for the art that they want to see sometimes, which is very sad. Uh, I will say that I do not regret my time in the Navy. I am medically retired now. I've had 4 back surgeries. Part of the reason well, you can't really see it. Can I drag my? I can't really drag my model up right now. Oh yeah, I can. Hold on a second. Uh, this is gonna look weird, chat, but the reason that I have a metallic arm is because I am a military vet, Navy vet that has uh, you know, I'm a bit of a cyborg now, I guess, technically. I have a pain stimulator in my spine because of chronic nerve pain. So, oh, you went Air Force. All right. Yeah. 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 There's no way around that, unfortunately. I almost went into the Air Force. I ended up going with the Navy because of the Navy nuke program instead, because I think they wanted me to be a meteorologist in the Air Force, and the position they were offering me would still be boots in the dirt overseas, and I didn't want to go overseas because my brother threatened to break my legs if because he was in the army, and he threatened me and said if I took any rates that would get me put overseas, he was gonna break my legs. Ah, Jaywalk. I was talking about you early, Jaywalk. Why were you here when Spicy was here? Unfortunate. That's true, Jaywalk. That's kind of like the whole the machine learning that was made to detect bread ended up being perfect for um, detecting cancer cells. So when it comes to being a creative field face, you're very valid in that thought process. Too bad, Jaywalk stopped working. Come hang out. Yeah, that's what they wanted me to do. They combat weather. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, AI is very good at hallucinating face. I will. They can go kind of crazy. Um, all right, I'm gonna go check and see if my doggos are ready to come back in. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I am back. I had to coax her inside. She was out by the shed playing around. There you go, Jaywalk. No, no, it's Timbo. Thank you for dropping by. It was fun talking to you, man. Um, yeah, man. If you ever have time, drop by our Discord and hang out sometime, man. Oh, you did the Bitterverse? Yeah, yeah. It needs some work still. I know. A lot of the links are still. Actually, speaking of which, thank you, Nightbot, for posting that. I feel you on that one, Jaywalk. All right. Well, guys, I think that now that I've gotten up and moved around a little bit, I realize how hungry I am. So I'm gonna do something I haven't done in a hot minute. I'm actually gonna raid out, I think. Uh, let's see here. All right. Hello. Let me highlight the name. There we go. All right, cool. Yeah, thank you, Stambo. Appreciate you. Let me see if I can actually get this to work. It's been so long since I've actually had to raid out to someone. So, like, hey, let's see if it works. There we go. Yes, I got it working. All right, cool, guys. Hey, thanks so much, guys, for joining me for this writing. I do appreciate it. We got 750 words in the book, into the short story. So it's a positive. That's good. We're going to be going and raiding over to Moot Ship, who is currently working on drafting. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you as always. And until next time, as always, march on.
Readers aboard!
Hi, thank you so much for letting me know. Welcome in. Hi, Julian. I think I was still muted when you bunked as well. Um, I do that sometimes. Um, Hi, welcome in. If you do need to raid a run, please make sure to do so. Always look after yourself first. If you would like to stick around and tell us what you were working on, please make sure to do so as well. Or please feel free to do so as well. I'm currently working on a mystery romance that I'm writing by hand, which, because I did not look after my hand properly when I started, my hand is cramping so bad. Um, I've got hypermobile ehlers-danlos, and I didn't prepare correctly. It's fine. I was dumb. It'll be fine. I'm just being dumb. um, but yeah, how was your writing going or reading? It is to protest Gen AI specifically. I've also got, like, this is my first thing that I've written by hand in a long, long time. I've also got a story going on. I moved over to ellipsis recently. Sorry, I'm yawning a lot. Swapped over to ellipsis. I've got it on there, and that is a historical fantasy romance. Romance is my genre in general. Historical and fancy because a little bit of time travel has happened in there. Not a lot, accidental, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, started writing it so many years ago, like 2012, 2013, and recently got the energy to start writing again. Picked that one up, and then that one is unplanned. Like I've got vague ideas and vibes of what I want to do with that, and then this one is planned, which is not a me thing. So it's going interesting. Your writing was going